Well, it's politics and it's all...
Oh, Lord. Starting off on a good note.
An awesome start. Just doing like singing.
Oh, good.
I want you to get up now. I want all of you to get up out of your chairs. I want you to get up right now and go to the window, open it, and stick your head out and yell, "I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore!"
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Smith Radio. Your host, Brian Smith, and
Carrie Smith.
giving you all the late-breaking details of the news, making sense of it all, explaining to you what they're telling you, and then telling you what you need to... telling you what they're really saying and the details of that. And we are having a little bit of technical difficulty.
There we go. Now we're good.
Whew.
Sorry about that.
Good times. Today is a special edition of Smith Radio. It is Friday, July 8th at 7 o'clock Eastern Time. If you're listening to us live, because you'd be following us on either Facebook or Twitter or on our website, smithradio.com, you would get this information that we've gone live. And if you're listening live, you want to give a call in, espouse your opinion, give us a call at 513-888-1538. However, this is only going to be an hour show. It's going to be real short to the point. We might not be able to get to calls tonight, but we're going to do what we can. And tonight
There's
we're
just
talking
so much going on.
Right. Tonight we're talking about the Dallas Massacre that happened last night in the middle of the night. And first, what we want to do is we want to lay it all out exactly what happened, the details of what happened, who did it, why they did it, and then after that, we'll get into explaining it all to you and what it all means. So in case you haven't heard, last night in Dallas, Texas, originally it was reported that there were 4 shooters, and then the rest is information I'm getting from dailymail.uk. I love them.
Do we have a final number on the actual number of shooters? Because I heard as many as 6, but that might be like the maximum because they were kind of speculating based on the actual attack.
Right. Well, the Daily Mail, and the reason why I like the Daily Mail is because they're outside of America, and they're going to tell you exactly what the American news media isn't telling you. And so here's the information that they detailed, and they went through it all in great detail. The number one shooter, the guy who is being blamed for this, the guy who pretty much orchestrated the entire thing, his name's Micah Xavier Johnson. He's 25, and he used an SKS semi-automatic rifle. He's an Army reservist, and he shot 5 cops. Apparently there were up to 11 total shootings, and we're up to 5 dead. And that also includes other civilians as well, not all cops.
I think 1 or 2 civilians got hit, but
Okay.
clearly with the amount of cops that got hit and how many of them got killed versus how many civilians got hit and killed as compared to the number of civilians to cops at the actual rally, because this was like a protest.
Yeah, there's a Black Lives Matter, apparently, as Loretta Lynch will explain, a peaceful Black Lives Matter rally, which I've never seen a peaceful one from this terrorist organization, Black Lives Matter. I've never seen one. After this protest, the cops raided the guy's home. They found bomb-making materials, ballistic vests, rifles, ammunition, and compact journals in his home. Identified as the man who shot 12 police officers, killing 5, and then he was killed himself by a robotic bomb detonated by the police
Which
after
I was
a 4-hour standoff.
Yeah, this is an unprecedented, never been done before. The first reports that came in about how the cops ended up killing this guy, because it was a standoff, and he was saying, "Don't come in here. There's explosives everywhere." Which, by the way, reports were that they did actually detect explosives. Right? There were EIDs, or the bomb sniffing dogs actually came off with positive readings for they bark or they give a positive indication to the cops. So the reports were that they did detect explosives. They did report that they're explosives, and so they end up killing this guy with a bomb. The cops do. And the reports, the initial reports were that a bomb robot went in, and the way it was described, it sounded like the guy either had a bomb near him or somehow close enough to him that when the robot set it off, it killed the guy. Oh, I'm sorry. That's not even the initial reports. The initial reports were that he shot himself. He killed himself.
Right.
And that was obviously absolutely false, because then they said that he was killed by an explosive that was set off by a robot that would be the cops sending in the robot.
And I believe that the robot was carrying the bomb, the round bomb with a fuse on it, and he's the
like in the cartoons.
Right.
I just assumed that the robot detonating the bomb was independent of the guy, and then he was just close enough that it...
That's what I thought, too.
Yeah, well, it turns out they sent the bomb... The cops sent a bomb in that they made. Okay, right. That's what I was thinking. In order to kill them, and in the report it said, as a last resort.
Oh.
So it was like, hey, let's try to survive, get this guy alive and all that kind of stuff. But, I mean, this is the kind of call that could only be made after 11 of your fellow officers have been shot, 5 of which are dead.
Right. How do you not take all immediate action to stop?
Only under that circumstance could you imagine. Like I said, first time this has ever happened before, where law enforcement ends up killing the suspect on purpose, willfully. Like they're like, let's kill him.
Send in the bomb.
It's time. Yeah, I mean, we've exhausted all other things. The other thing that they could do was storm in, and I think that they had all had it. They had all had it.
Well, I don't know if I'd want to storm in.
Nobody's volunteering to storm in.
No.
So in a way, I don't disagree with what they did.
Right.
It's just kind of really interesting that this is a first, and it kind of makes you wonder, for future reference, if you're in a standoff situation or, whatever the suspect is, you see a robot coming,
it might be loaded. Yeah. So apparently there are 2 other suspects that were taken into custody. After fleeing the scene in a black Mercedes, an officer saw one of the pair hurried, putting a camouflage bag in the back of the car before driving away at a high rate of speed. A female who was also in the same area as Johnson was also taken into custody. However, the local police chief, Chief Brown, said, we don't have a complete comfort that we have all the suspects.
Yeah, I don't blame him for thinking that, because basically what it boiled down to was this was an extremely well-coordinated attack. If you look at the videos that were posted, they were just coming in.
What about the video that Dana Lausch put up on Twitter last night?
Yeah, basically it was a cop looking like... I mean, he looked like he was doing what cops do, but he was just totally outmanned, outgunned, outflanked by a guy that was much better trained to kill.
Yeah, the cop was standing behind a giant concrete pillar underneath a building, and the shooter literally was creeping up on that
totally
cop.
Outflanked him.
And then the way that the shooter, and I've got some more reports about why and how he was trained, but the shooter literally swept around the cop at the same time, firing rapidly at the cop, and I don't think I saw one shot come off. Like, I don't think the cop got one shot off.
No,
he was shooter.
I mean, this wasn't just some fat, slow cop. I mean, he was getting in a tactical position. It's just that this guy was on it. And so I called Brian late last night as this was going on, and I said, I don't want to get all Alex Jones or anything.
Right.
I don't have my tinfoil hat handy. But this looks like a military operation. And I remember your response was, you mean like well-trained terrorists, Middle Eastern? No, this looks like a U.S. trained. And was I right?
Absolutely, 100% correct. He was an Army veteran. He acted some people are saying Johnson is the one of the family members, and he told the law enforcement that he was an Army veteran, acted alone, and he was upset at white people. While he professed his hatred for white people in his last words to a hostage negotiator, coincidentally, it appears that his stepmother was white. Donna Ferrer Johnson, a teacher for Dallas schools, proudly shared pictures of her stepson in uniform on Facebook all the time. She was so proud of her stepson.
And she's not black.
She's white, and his dad divorced his mom, remarried a white woman, and she, at all intents and purposes, it looks like she did nothing but try and bring her stepson into the fold by being proud of it. I mean, it's on the surface.
Racism is so mysterious. I mean, I've seen pictures of Beyonce's dad. Not sure what her mom looks like, but she has just gone all Black Panther on us since the Super Bowl thing.
Right.
Went all Black Lives Matters, all that kind of stuff.
It's absolute insanity.
And I'm like, I mean, she's clearly not fully black. She's got to have at least one parent or grandparent that's white or some other race or whatever. And so racism coming from her is a mystery.
Right.
And it kind of sheds light on the way racism works.
Right. It's very strange. So he told the hostage negotiator that he wanted to kill white people, especially white officers. And we're going to get into why, the psyche of why he was screaming white officers. This has to do with the politicization of cop killer, cop wanting to kill, cops killing. Who do cops kill, and who kills cops, and why are these numbers skewed, and why are we being fed this line of bull that cops are out killing blacks?
Do you have the numbers?
We've got numbers. We're going to get into it, yeah.
Let's get into that.
The casualties include Dallas police officer Patrick Zamarp, Michael Kroll, Lauren Hearns, and Michael J. Smith, a Dart police officer Brent Thompson. 7 other officers, including 2 female cops and 2 bystanders, are among the injured. Oh, and this is the video we just told you about. The gruesome footage shows a cop being shot execution style by the gunman as he rampaged through the city. By the way, Black Lives Matter, I don't know who runs that place or that organization, but they've released a statement and they've distanced themselves from this whole thing, and we condemn it. It's not.
Well, in their defense, and I don't know about Black Lives. There's like 3 different entities here that we're dealing with. We're dealing with the actual shooters, some of which have claimed they're not involved with any kind of a group.
Right.
Although Glenn Beck this morning. Now, by the way, Glenn Beck lives in Dallas, so
Correct.
he has a little bit better connections and sources.
I've been to Dallas-Fort Worth, and I stayed there for a couple of months. I never one time, this was years ago, but I never at any given time ever felt, racial tensions or fear that I was going to be hurt
in
or
this
harmed.
particular,
but this is different.
Yeah, this is a protest that is one of many that are going to be in every major metropolitan city across the entire country.
Paid for by Hillary Clinton and George Soros.
Yeah, and Cincinnati's going to have one Sunday.
Correct, because Trump is coming to town. Why would they have one Sunday?
That just happens to be the date that they picked. They're going to go all across the country all week. So, and they already had this scheduled before this happened. So now you have like Smitherman and all these people in Cincinnati coming out and saying, we're going to make sure that this is safe, and we're going to make sure that nothing crazy happens and whatever. Or they're going to do everything they can. So we'll see what happens. But in their defense, in the protesters and the Black Lives Matters people's defense, and by the way, a big part of Black Lives Matters is completely racist, completely anti-white, and all that kind of stuff. However, the people that show up to these protests are like, had I known that this was going to be a white cop killing thing,
I wouldn't have been here.
Yeah, people brought their kids to this thing, and they were like, I wouldn't have come, and I certainly wouldn't have brought my children.
Well, I hope that if you know anybody out there, Black Lives Matter, or any of our followers, anybody that's listening to the show, share the show to folks that you know that might be headed down that road or thinking those thoughts, and let them know that Black Lives Matter is not a peaceful movement, not by far.
And it's weird because they're now a whole bunch of people all day, and I can totally understand they're very emotional, very upset. They're now, everybody's wanting to call Black Lives Matters a terrorist organization. I'm not going to go that far because I'm not ready to make the connection between the actual group. The sentiment, yes. There's definitely a sentiment between what the Black Lives Matters believes in, what they stand for, and what these shooters ended up doing. So there's a very fine line. However, I mean, I don't think that Black Lives Matters was hoping that this was going to be the goal, that it was going to encourage some militant, military-trained, very well tactically trained people to team up. I mean, they were talking about how they had these positions, these elevated positions on the cops, and they even used military tactics where one would start using cover fire that would draw attention to the cops to get them to face the wrong direction so that another shooter could totally outflank them and pick them off like sitting ducks.
Right, and the reports are that the cops were shot in the back. There's no question about that.
Oh, they were just going to kill them anyway. It wasn't about honor. It was about just trying to get as many of them killed as possible.
So check this out. The Micah X, he also liked pages for several different pages on Facebook related, and you're not going to hear this in America, the pages that he liked are related to the Nation of Islam, the Black Riders Liberation Party, the new Black Panther Party, and the African American Defense League. You will not hear that from anybody in the news media, the talking heads, the ones who provide cover for this administration. Apparently, Micah, and here's where it gets into it. Where did he get his training? How did he know all this stuff? Well, he used to attend a gym called the Academy of Combat Warrior Acts, which teaches weapons classes in addition to the traditional martial arts. And this is according to the Daily Beast. The gym CEO, Justin Everman, spoke to the Daily Beast saying many of the gym's members are police officers. We have completely no affiliation whatsoever to do with Johnson. I would say that too. However, I don't want to put blame on this gym, like this gym's at fault or wherever, because you're going to go down the same road with, well, the guns killed people. You know, the guns are killing people. The gym is training people to use guns to kill people. No. I'm not going to go down that road. However, we will say that his training came from the military while he was a reservist in the military, which means he went in through basic training and then 1 week in a month, showed up. It wasn't a 4-year tour like Carrie and I did, which was different, where you lived there in military life for 4 straight years.
Well, it's interesting because even though I was waking up every day and doing my job in the military, he probably was at least as well trained in those kind of tactics as I was, because we only had to just qualify probably only as often as he did.
We in the Air Force had to qualify one time.
Once you were qualified, you were grandfathered in for life?
Yeah, I got the ribbon for marksmanship.
Okay.
Yeah. However,
what did you have to do to get that?
You had to hit the inside the target, I think it was like 48 out of 50 times. At a fair
50 shots?
Something like that.
That's a lot of lead.
45 to 50. Yeah, it was pretty far down. However, after close inspection of my target.
Oh, yeah, you told me this story.
There seemed to be more than 50 holes in my target.
So you had somebody helping you.
I don't know.
Some adjacent numbnuts.
I have no idea.
Meanwhile, the guy next to you had like 1 or 2 holes in his target?
Correct.
That's it?
From the next guy next to him.
Oh, wow.
So that's the Air Force for you, folks. But, okay, into the lifestyle of Micah X. He lived on a quiet street with his mother, his biological mother, who's black, for years, according to neighbors, that he lived with his mom for years.
Okay.
I don't know how many years, but for years. I've got a problem with grown men.
Well, he's 25.
According to Obamacare,
yeah,
you're good to go till 26.
Yeah, he is legally a child.
So then the neighbor who wanted to not be identified said that he had lots and lots of guns, and she knows that because he would tell people that on the street frequently. This is from a neighbor. And then a while ago, she said earlier this year, he went around and knocked on all the neighbors' doors asking if they had seen the person who stole his rifles and headed down a back alley somewhere around 3 a.m.
Okay.
And he knocked on everybody's door and asking everybody where his guns were, and he seemed really upset.
So did they really get stolen?
Nobody knows.
Okay.
There was no police report filed that we know of. There was
Okay.
no.
All right.
So nobody knows. And this is, see, this is the family environment that he was raised in, and the environment the administration wants all Americans of darker skin to raise their children in. This is his sister. In the days leading up to the shooting, his sister Nicole wrote several posts about her frustration and the tense relationship between police and the African American community. She wrote, "Man, on life itself, I'm beginning to trust law less and less. Come a year from now, everybody will need a gun for protection. Why is it the black get the harsh treatment? Like, damn, period. Makes me so mad, period. When he decided we had enough in Fight Back, some, I don't know, SMHH.
Oh, shaking my head.
Okay.
I don't know why there would be two H's.
She wrote a post on July 6th, responding to the death of Alton Sterling.
He's the one that got shot in New Orleans, and he was selling CDs.
Correct. We got another illegal vendor.
Which
hold on. At being a capitalist that I am, operating within the laws that we have. There's laws on the books, and there's registrations, and there's taxes to pay. I understand. I cannot change that. That's the game that we're playing capitalism in. If you refuse to play by those rules, you're breaking the law.
But that wasn't what the issue was.
No. Correct. I'm just saying. I'm thinking back to the guy that was selling cigarettes.
Oh well, and that wasn't the issue either.
Correct.
Right.
However,
I definitely don't want to get off track here.
No. So Alton Sterling was selling CDs, and a homeless man repeatedly walked up to him and said, "Hey, man, you got some change?
Right.
You got some change?" And so Alton,
"Hey, man, I got a hamburger." Oh.
"Hey, how about you pour some in my hand for a nickel?"
Remember in Menace to Society?
Yeah.
He said, "I don't got no money, but I got a hamburger. Get out of here." And he goes, "Man, okay. Family show. Yeah, but you could watch it.
So the homeless guy said Alton raised his shirt up to show that he was packing heat. He had a handgun in his waistband. So the homeless man, who apparently has a cell phone and a cell phone connection.
You're saying something that you're giving me information that I haven't heard.
This is from the UK Daily Mail.
So I heard that he was pointing it at people.
The homeless guy that called 911 from his own personal cell phone, probably provided by the government. Thank you for that.
Bomb phone!
Exactly. Said that said that he showed him his gun.
So he just lifted the shirt, gangsta style.
Right. From the 911 transcript, it doesn't sound like he was waving it around type of thing. That isn't what I got.
Yeah, the initial report I heard, which was not, I don't know, I think it may have been a tweet.
Okay.
Somebody said he was using the weapon to threaten people, and believe it or not, if people could feel threatened when you say, "Hey, get out of here," and you lift your shirt up to show that it's stuck in your waistband.
You can't do that. I mean, you
Really?
can't. Well, you can do that, but that could be menacing.
I guess.
Dude,
I don't know.
go to a Walmart and do that and see what happens.
But all of that,
You have the cops storm the place.
to use that as a reason to try to get them arrested is clearly a violation of the Second Amendment because you're allowed to bear arms, and I believe showing somebody that you're bearing arms does not disqualify you from bearing arms.
Correct. However, I think the homeless individual, I think he was frustrated that
Residentially challenged
individual was frustrated that he had no capital and that Alton Sterling had capital and was making money with that in a certain way. And he was angry that somebody was doing something to make money and he's got none.
It's politics of envy, right?
Right. So the video that I reposted the link from CNN.com on our Facebook page, facebook.com/Smith Radio, and that's Smith with a Y, SMYTH, shows just a snippet. And I had to look at it a couple times, and I finally saw the cops. The only part CNN starts with it, and it's a cell phone on the ground, a potato phone on the ground. And the cop charged at Sterling, grabbing him, throwing him on the hood of a car, slid down to the ground, 2 cops on top of him while he's laying on his back, face up. This could be put in. I don't know. It's hard with sound, but somebody screams, "He got a gun!"
Yeah, one of the cops does.
Is that where that came from?
Yeah, one of the cops says, "He's got a gun! He's got a gun!"
And then the phone cuts away. However, just before the phone cuts away, you can see him turning his shoulder up, lifting up off the ground as if he was trying to twist away.
Well, and there's several
out of the cops.
There's several camera or footage, videos, whatever, from several different angles, and so you can kind of triangulate and see the whole picture for the most part, even though the one cuts away. Okay, let's just cut to the chase because people are so upset about this Alton story, this Alton Sterling story. Let's just cut to the chase here. The problem isn't white cops killing black men, either armed or unarmed. The problem is that there is a clash of cultures here, which I think can be fixed. I think it could be fixed. This is not like Indians versus settlers.
No.
That was not compatible.
Right.
Western civilization and Islam is incompatible. That's not able to... The only remedy for that is all-out war until one side is completely wiped out. This is a culture clash between inner-city black culture and just, I guess you could call it... They would call it white culture, which is...
Well, it's American
rule of law.
Yeah,
and all this kind of stuff.
American culture versus.
I mean, it's American. It's just black culture, black American culture. Okay, so here's the problem: you gotta understand that there has to be, no matter how much it just pains you to do so. I remember I grew up in the inner city. I was young once. I was stupid. I was very proud. And if I was insulted in front of friends, I would probably fight and all that kind of stuff and not want to go out like that and be made fun of and whatnot. But there's a certain level of respect for authority that if you don't yield to that certain amount, you're really putting your life at risk. Okay?
Oh, absolutely.
And let's go a little further. And this is stuff that this needs to be learned by people, especially the black culture, who thinks that white people, white cops, or cops in general, sometimes black cops, Uncle Toms, or whatever they want to call a black cop who's properly trained, if you're armed and you resist arrest, you cannot complain about dying. Or it's that simple.
Or if you feel that you want a police officer's weapon, or you want anything on that cop's body.
Yeah, let's say you're not armed.
Right.
Good point.
And you want something that cop has. That ain't no good.
Not good.
He does not play well with others. He doesn't share his toys.
This is the way they're trained. And they would respond to me by saying, well, that's systemic racism because they're trained that way. They might not be racist, but they're following a system that's racist. No, it's called a certain protocol that's necessary for them to get their job done of protecting and serving the community and doing it safely and protecting themselves.
Speaking about that, let me play our first sound clip. This is from Texas Lieutenant Governor. He came on Fox and Friends, or Fox TV show earlier today, and this is what he had to say about this whole ordeal.
I grew up in a world, I've been around long enough that we've always had bad people, we've always had dangerous people, but the general public respected the police.
Yeah.
Too many in the general public who aren't criminals but have a big mouth are creating situations like we saw last night. All those protesters last night, they ran the other way expecting the men and women in blue to turn around and protect them. What hypocrites.
Well, I guess, I mean...
Well, hold on.
Their whole thing, okay,
I know what you're saying. You're going down the road that there were people showed up for Black Lives Matter that were moms and dads with their kids, and they're peaceful. I'm sorry. If you think that Black Lives Matter is not a racist organization, you got a problem.
And here's why Brian's saying that and why I agree with him. If you start the conversation with you cannot say all lives matter. If that's what you're starting with, or if that's a position that you're not willing to yield on, number one, you don't get it. And I tweeted that out today, and I got a lot of likes and retweets on that. But you don't get it. You don't get what's going to cause or enable peace. Okay? And number two, it's such a huge insult to people that are not black.
Yeah. Because you're saying now it's spawned Blue Lives Matter. Why are we saying Blue Lives Matter right now? Look at the situation. Why are we saying Blue Lives Matter? That's the answer to Black Lives Matter. Why? Because it's Black Lives Matter that are killing blue lives, cops.
But people who say Blue Lives Matter would also say all lives matter.
Correct.
But people that, I listened on, I don't know if it was Sean. It wasn't Sean. I think it might have been Glenn Beck this morning. Somebody was on and defending this notion that, well, okay, they say Black Lives Matters and they say you should never say all lives matter because it takes away from our message that you got to focus on. This guy even went so far as to say, listen, I'm pro-life, okay? So unborn lives matters, okay?
Right.
And I don't want somebody to minimize my message of unborn lives matters by saying, well, yeah, sure, all unborn lives matters, but also all lives matter. And, dude, just stop. Just stop. Stop
it's
this.
Too much.
It sounds racist when you say Black Lives Matters and then get upset when somebody says, I agree with you, but also
all lives matter.
All lives matter. Oh, what? No, stop that. Okay, so
last year, 2015, the Justice Department, Obama's department, was tasked with finding out who's, cops killing, white cops, Asian cops, what's this killing and what's the ratio of numbers. And they found out that black and Hispanic cops are more likely to be shot than white cops. And the New York Police Department, black cops are 3.3 times more likely to shoot than white cops are to shoot.
And do you think that's because a white cop is reluctant to shoot?
Absolutely. And we're going to get into Heather MacDonald, who wrote a book that we're going to be talking about right here. War on Cops is the name of her book.
Oh, yeah. She was actually interviewed. Very rare. Rush Limbaugh does not have guests.
Right. He did it two times in 24 hours.
Yeah. He does guests on his newsletter thing. He does do that.
Oh, right.
But on his regular 3-hour show that comes on during the day, starts at noon or whatever, he does not do guests ever. Right. So for him to have her on, I hope she realized what an honor that was.
She did. At the end of the interview, she was very, very gracious and said so. Before I get to her, though, there were two different sound bites on Obama today. Like this was a while ago. Today. And it was split up, and one of the sound bites was put on CNN as I was listening to it. And I'm like, man, that didn't sound that doesn't sound that bad. And then I found another soundbite of him, and I'm just beside myself. So let me just play this real quick. This is Obama on the entire situation that went down in Dallas.
When incidents like this occur, there's a big chunk of our fellow citizenry that feels as if, because of the color of their skin, they are not being treated the same.
What he was saying that in response to what?
Dallas.
Are you sure it wasn't before Dallas? Because that sounds like he would say that in response to either New Orleans or
correct,
the cops shooting.
Okay, well, here's the rest of the soundbite.
Okay,
and that hurts, and that should trouble all of us.
I'm troubled.
This is not just a black issue. It's not just a Hispanic issue. This is an American issue that we should all care about. All fair-minded people should be concerned. But when we see data that indicates disparities in how African Americans and Latinos may be treated in various jurisdictions around the country, then it's incumbent on all of us to say we can do better than this. We are better than this. And to not have it degenerate into the usual political scrum.
Well, you just did scrum it politically.
We should be able to step back, reflect, and ask ourselves, what can we do better so that everybody feels as if they're equal under the law?
I'll tell you what, I started alluding to it earlier. You need to teach these groups of people who are being, I guess, killed in higher numbers, who, by the way, finally, people are getting really aggressive with reporting this, on the right anyway, at least.
Correct.
That blacks and Latinos and whatnot do crime in disproportionate numbers.
Right. And then
everybody's afraid to say that. Today they're like, you know what? We've been trying to hide this. We were afraid to say it. We see the numbers and we're like, whoa, 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 whoa. I can't report on that. I know I'm a journalist, but I'm certainly not going to, when it comes to facts, that's out the window.
Right. And Heather McDonald did the research, did an exorbitant amount of research to find the data, to find the numbers. And she lays it out in her book. And it's just amazing that we finally have all the data compiled into one book to where you can look at it, you can read it, and it makes sense.
Yeah, so a whole bunch of people now tweeting, journalists actually reporting black people do or commit more murders, percentage-wise, proportional-wise, homicides than whites. And I said, whoa, hold on a second. Let's just make it more general. There's more crimes in general, not just homicides, but crimes across the board. And you don't need to commit a homicide or murder or whatever for a cop to kill you when you're unarmed.
Right.
You could just be have a broken taillight.
Or a missing license plate in the front up in Clifton.
Yeah, exactly. And so what does that mean? Should you be killed for having a missing license plate? Should you be killed for having a broken taillight? Okay, so let's talk about the Philando thing real quick. So here's a guy who was pulled over. And the video is very confusing because I'm like, what is this, in England? It turns out, I guess she was doing a reverse, so it looks like a mirror when you're recording it.
Okay.
So he's in the driver's seat.
Like you're recording a selfie almost.
Yes, but it actually looks like you're looking at a mirror. Everything's backwards. So when I first started watching, I was like, okay, he's in the passenger seat. No, he's in the driver's seat. The whole image is reversed. The whole video is reversed. But anyway, so he gets pulled over. He's got his 4-year-old daughter in the back, and his girlfriend, according to her, she was referring to him as his boyfriend, but I believe it was the father of the child, I believe. I'm not 100% sure. But they're all in the car together. The video starts with him dying.
Right. And she pulled it out after he was shot.
Right, and which is shocking. I cannot believe she had the balls to do that. Because
or even the like the wherewithal.
She might have had it already out. No, what I'm saying is how do you dig in your pockets? Right. Your boyfriend just got 4 bullets in him for reaching, and now you're going to reach and hurry up and record. It's like, that's kind of scary.
Right, and not only that, but I mean, maybe we're older, we're not part of that, but the last thing I do is reach for my cell phone, and then when it's all over, I'm like, oh, damn, I could have recorded that. Like, I don't think of that in the moment.
Right. Well,
and maybe
she
the younger kids do.
Well, and I don't know if she was that young, but anyway, so the video starts with her boyfriend kind of moving a little bit, but he was in bad shape. Like, it looked like his arm was about to fall off because his arm probably took all 4 bullets, but it went through him. He ended up dying, obviously, so the bullets obviously probably punctured some vital organs and all that kind of stuff, but he was in bad shape. She wasn't sure if he was going to die or not, but it didn't take very long for me to assess the situation. This guy didn't look good.
Right.
Cop was screaming, I told you not. He was upset. He did not want to have to kill this guy. You could tell he was really upset. But why did he shoot him? The guy said, I'm armed, which that's not, we have a Second Amendment.
It's not illegal.
You're allowed to bear arms. And then he reached, presumably for his driver's license and registration, when the cop was screaming in the video, I told you not to move. I told you not to get your hands at. And then the woman very calmly, eerily calmly said, sir, you told him that you need driver's license and registration. He was reaching for his driver's license and registration, and he's screaming. He's losing it, the cop is. And, I think there's mistakes made here on both sides, but you don't want to be the one that's dead, right?
Right.
You don't want to be the one that's dead. So, again, going back to a cultural thing, or maybe it was just a lapse in judgment, you just got to know that if the cop knows that you're armed, you should be unbelievably careful about your movements and stuff like that. And there's not enough evidence in this video to make a very informed judgment on this situation. You don't know how he was reaching. Right. Was he like starting to go towards his pocket, like, sir, I'm just going to get my driver's license and registration? Or was he like being, a punk and then reaching kind of quick and making the cop feel really uncomfortable? You don't know. Nobody knows.
Speaking about her eerily, the reaction that was just really eerie.
She was very calm.
In the hospital, there was a video of her interacting while he was laying there, dying.
So you saw this. This video I saw was a whole 9+ minutes.
Okay, this one was just afterwards, and her reaction was, yeah, it's my man. He got shot up. Probably gonna die.
Well, she broke up.
She was just really weird.
Well, I think what happened was she was in shock.
Okay.
And here's why I think that. She was in shock when she pulled out the cell phone to record. She was actually, this was pretty smart on her point. On her, she live casted it.
Oh, live! Holy smoke!
She live casted it.
That's even harder for me to get that going. Rather than my cell phone.
She might be used to it. She might be used to doing that. She live casted it through Facebook, which I thought was really smart, and here's why. There's reason for us to not trust cops fully. They're strangers. You don't know these people.
Right.
Right? And so they could be crooked cops. You don't know. I mean, if you just make a video, they could get your cell phone and then just delete it.
Correct.
Delete the file.
But not if it's live cast.
If you live cast it, everybody's got it.
Right.
So that was pretty smart on her, and I don't think it mattered anyway because nobody erased her video.
Okay, so check this out. Let's go back to the interview real quick with Heather McDonald and on the Rush Limbaugh show today. And this whole feeling like, man, this is happening everywhere, isn't it? This happens all over the place. We've got not Orlando, but we've got Baltimore, mm-hmm. We've got St. Louis, Ferguson, we've got Texas, we've got Minnesota. This is an epidemic.
And New Orleans is Alton Sterling. Right. He was in Louisiana. Yeah.
This is an epidemic, and then Heather gets into it and also discusses Obama's statement earlier.
Well, Rush, President Obama lied to the nation last night. and he embraced the Black Lives Matter myth that there is a racist war by white officers against black civilians in this country, and we see the results. In fact, there is no government agency more dedicated to the proposition that Black Lives Matter than the police. Proactive policing has saved tens of thousands of minority lives since the mid-1990s. And now police officers are backing off. They've been backing off before the Dallas assassinations under the assault of hatred that is being spewed at them on the streets, but above all in the mainstream media, by activists and by politicians from the White House on down. They're backing off of proactive policing, and crime is going up astronomically, at as much as 90% in cities with large black populations. And now, after these Dallas shootings, officers are going to be even more reluctant to engage, and the result is going to be more carnage.
And this, in her book, she starts to lay out how crime from the 70s started to go down, and it literally plummeted. In the last 2 years of Obama's administration, crime is shooting through the roof nationwide.
Yeah, and part of it is that he's actually stoking the fires of blaming racism, blaming the cops. Racism is kind of the overarching theme, but also kind of like, hey, it's the cops' fault. All these black people being killed by cops is obviously the cops' fault. They shouldn't be killing so many black people. Look at these stats. Look how many black people get killed by cops compared to white people. Statistically speaking, as a percentage of the total population, this is clearly cops targeting black people. Well,
they're looking at the wrong stats.
Yeah, and then they'll even make the argument that, okay, you say that black people commit more crimes than whites. These are just convictions. They're going through a racist court system and being convicted based on their skin color.
Yikes.
Yeah, they've got all their ducks in a row, okay? But the bottom line is that the crimes are actually being committed, but even when you're just being pulled over for a taillight, and people are super angry about this, I do believe that the cop probably made a mistake if he asked him to give me your driver's license and registration after being told that the guy's armed. Now you put yourself in a situation where you're going to have to trust that this guy's going to dig in his pocket and just pull out a wallet.
No, and I talked with guys at work about this last night, and there's a lot of us that either have concealed carry or carry, and the majority of men, I mean, they're older guys, they're in their 50s, majority of them said, absolutely, if a cop pulled me over, my hands would be on the steering wheel. And
don't dig.
And the one guy said he would tell the cop, yes, I have CCW, and I have a gun in my car. Now, if I was driving with a concealed carry weapon, I wouldn't have it. It's uncomfortable. I wouldn't have it on me. I'd probably lay it on the seat.
Now, the cop did scream, I told you to blah, blah, blah. I told you to blah, blah. He's screaming it. He was really upset that he had to shoot this guy. This is a cultural thing, and I coached for 10 years in an inner city public school. There is a major issue with black culture with regards to following directions, and it's not an intelligence thing. It's not a genetic thing. It's not a skin color thing. I'm not really sure.
I think it's a missing dad thing.
Okay, I'm with you on that.
The dad's not in the house. The older white gentlemen that I spoke to at work all were in an agreement with hands on the steering wheel, and one guy said, I would actually ask the cop if I could get out of the car, he could pat me down.
And let the cop disarm you.
And then tell the cop where the gun is.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And I'm like, wow, You've given up a ton of rights. However,
I mean, you
didn't do anything wrong, and you're alive.
Yeah, at the end of the day, I mean, you got to be thinking that the cop is really, really in the wrong to not just help him out.
Right.
You're being pulled over for whatever reason. Help him out. If you got a taillight out, he's got to let you know. And here's why. This simple stuff here. You have two taillights. These are critical things for safety on the road.
Right.
If one's out, you're one more taillight from being without any taillights.
Correct.
This is pretty important for safety on the road at nighttime. So if you have one out, he's got to pull you over to let you know. How are you going to know?
Right.
By the way, my taillight on the white car, it was out. The only reason I found out about it is because my worker today, he followed me. We just happened to come in at the exact same time. And he's like, hey, bro, your taillight's out.
And
I would have never known.
And you'll drive around forever and nobody's going to tell you.
No.
My license plate was expired by almost 3 months. I completely I had no clue. It was the furthest thing on my mind. Cop pulled me over. He said, hey, you know why I pulled you over? I said, no, I have absolutely no clue. Although I probably was speeding. And he said, your license plate. And I said, I had absolutely no idea. Hands in the air. I mean, my hands in the air.
Yeah, put your hands
on the steering wheel. I'm in the open. My window's down. I'm very calm. No problems. But real quick, before we end the show out, I want to play this last soundbite by Heather McDonald. This is where she gets into where is all this violence happening and details the numbers. It's a 2-part soundbite, so I'll probably stop it right in the middle, and then we'll say something, and then we'll finish it out.
Well, it's politics and it's also ideology. There is an ideology that has taken hold of universities, that has taken hold of elite establishments, that is committed to the myth of endemic white racism. And you're right, there have been bad shootings, police shootings. The Walter Scott shooting in North Charleston was very bad. The Laquan McDonald shooting in Chicago. These were appalling incidents of police negligence and likely criminality. But those are not representative of this nation's police forces. They are more professional than ever before, and they are dedicated to saving black lives. Well,
okay, so that was the first part.
I love the way she said dedicating to saving black lives, because it's true. And there was these rants on YouTube, and you're sitting here listening to a black woman going off, right? Turns out, you find out halfway through the thing, she's a cop.
Oh, man.
And she's going off. And then she says, well, I'm doing this to serve my community and to make my community better and to protect and serve the lives of my community, blah, blah, going on and on. And it's true. They want to protect and save black lives.
Right. Why not? I mean, if you literally were out to kill black Americans, I mean, that would be absolute insanity.
Well, not only that, but you would be found out.
Yeah, it would be exposed to none of,
Yeah, like Ray Tensing.
Let's look at some of the numbers, and I know numbers are sometimes tough over the radio, but a larger proportion of white and Hispanic homicide deaths are the result of police killings than black homicide deaths. That is
okay. She's talking about homicide deaths, meaning murdered. And how were you murdered? Were you murdered by a cop, or were you murdered by a civilian, if you will? So that's what she's saying, homicide deaths, lumping both of those together, and then she's going to split it up, cop deaths versus civilian deaths.
But she said a larger proportion is among
cops
whites.
Kill whites and Asians, or Hispanics, Asians.
Then blacks.
Then blacks. Yeah.
Okay, all right.
is 12% of all whites and Hispanics who die of homicide are killed by police officers.
Okay, 12% of homicides in the white and Hispanic community, 12% of all those deaths are by cops.
Okay.
4% of all blacks homicide victims are killed by police officers. So if we're going to have...
Okay, so out of all the homicides in the black community, only 4% of those deaths are by cops.
And 12%.
12% Hispanic and white.
Wow.
Have an anti-cop Lives Matter movement, it would make more sense to call it White and Hispanic Lives Matter. The fact is that over 6,000 blacks die of homicide each year. That is more than white and Hispanic homicide victims combined, even though blacks are 13% of the nation's population. And the reason they are dying of homicide at a rate 6 times higher than whites and Hispanics combined is because they commit homicide at 8 times the rate
Uh-oh.
Oh, boy. This is the part that has been exposed.
Yeah, this is what you're not hearing.
Than whites and Hispanics combined. And that type of crime disparity means that when the police are trying to save lives, they are in minority neighborhoods confronting people engaged in drive-by shootings, killing children. In the last 72 hours in Chicago, there's been about 4 children under the age of 8 who've been shot. One boy shot in the back. On Father's Day, a 3-year-old boy was shot. He's now paralyzed for life. That's who police are trying to protect. But given the disparities in crime rates, the police cannot help but be in minority neighborhoods where they're confronting violent and resisting suspects, and sometimes officers themselves will have to use force to protect themselves and protect innocent bystanders.
That's the 800-pound gorilla in the room. Woo! And, and she's not the only one that's saying it. The Twitter is just blowing up with it. People are sick and tired of the lies. They've known these things. They've known the stats, and they're like, but we can't report that.
Right. No,
I mean,
can't say that.
Wow, we can't say it. And finally they're like, all right, we've had enough of this.
We've got to say it. Here are the numbers.
The crime has got to stop in the black community.
The black community crime rate is 8 times higher than white and Hispanic.
I believe it was either her or somebody else points out that it's not even a poverty thing.
No. Oh, yeah, she went in to talk about the economy because Obama likes to point to the economy and violence.
Poverty. We need to dump money on these people.
She said it's absolutely the opposite, just like global warming and carbon emissions. No,
that's right.
It doesn't compute. The two are incompatible with each. They don't match.
That's
the two don't match each other.
Good analogy, because it doesn't. You're absolutely right.
You want to hear what? Just real quick, Hillary Clinton by thehill.com. Clinton's speech was first retooled so that she could address the police killings of Alton Sterling and Philando Castile.
I thought that didn't she cancel? Because I know Trump canceled. He was going to do something.
Trump did cancel. I'm not sure about her. According to the campaign aide, the speech was then redrafted again to the events in Dallas. On Friday, the Scranton speech and the event with Biden were scrapped. Okay, so it was scrapped.
Oh, okay.
But Clinton is expected to speak about the events at a historically black African-American church in the Philadelphia Friday evening. It's an appropriate setting. Her allies say, to discuss the current tensions the nation faces.
Never let a crisis go to waste. The famous words of progressive communist agitators who are going to use your emotions to take away your rights.
They're already starting to take Donald Trump's statements out of proportion. So I picked.
I thought this was a news.
Well, they're taking his words out of context, and the Hill said that Trump sounds like Trump's siding with Clinton and Obama. I'm like, no, Hill, no, they're not. So I got CNN's clip of it, and this is from CNN. The Trump campaign released a statement Friday morning, further addressing the horrific execution-style shootings, calling them coordinated, premeditated assault on men and women who keep us safe. Trump also said, our nation has become too divided. Too many Americans feel like they've lost hope. Crime is harming too many citizens. Racial tensions have gotten worse, not better. This isn't the American dream we want for our children. We must restore law and order. We must restore the confidence in our people to be safe and secure in their homes and on the streets. How does that sound like he's siding with Hillary and Obama?
I don't get it. I don't know what they're talking about.
I don't get it either, but I'm telling you, it was nice to hear.
Well, you just got to say whatever you want to say when you're a Democrat.
Yeah, so
it has nothing
Trump
to do with reality,
right? So Trump did cancel his trip to Miami, where he was going to test the waters on New Jersey Governor Chris Christie.
What? Come on,
that was by the Hill. That's what they said. It may or may not even be true.
Is that a cruise paper? Or
what
is that?
I don't know. I thought the Hill.com, like Rush quotes from the Hill.com all the time. Oh my, we are
out of time.
Where are we at with the seconds? I have no idea. But I guess that's going to be
Yes.
Lord have mercy. It's been a quick one.
Yep. See you guys over on all those other Spreaker channels.
Yeah, listen to us Sunday evening, 5 to 8 p.m. Eastern Time on smithradio.com. That'll be 2 days from now.
Yeah, follow us at Smith Radio on Twitter.
With unfathomable power.
What kind of power?
Unfathomable. It's without fathom.